Gemara in Kedushin tells us a story. Gemara tells us that Yehuda says in the Shmuel that Shalu es Rabbi Lazar. They asked Rabbi Lazar at Heichan Kibud Av Va'im. How far does the requirement to honor one's parents go? Amar Lahem, and they said, Su'uru ma'asa ovid gachavim echad aviv ba'Ashkelon. Look what this non-Jew did for his father in Ashkelon. The Dama ben Nesina Shemo. His name was Dama ben Nesina. Bikshu min chacham avanim la'ephod b'shishim ribot schar. The chachamim were looking for a certain stone that was necessary for the ephod of the Kohen Gadol, and they were willing to pay a tremendous amount of money for it. Rav Kani Maseh b'shishim ribot machlok is exactly how much money it was. And they came to Dama ben Nesina, and his father was sleeping, and the chest, the place at which the key was found, was under his head, and he didn't wake him up in order to do it. He didn't want to cause him any pain. That pain of being awoken from a slumber, he didn't want to do it, and he gave up on all of that profit. L'shana acheres, the next year, Nasar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Secharu, Hashem rewarded him, Shenoldu Parah Adumah Ejo, that amongst his flock, his cattle, was born to him a Parah Adumah, a red cow. And then the Chacham came back to him. And he said to them, Dama Nesina understood it was so valuable, so rare to have a Parah Adumah. I could ask you for any amount of money in the world, and you would have to pay it to me. You would willingly. However, I will only ask you for that same amount of money that I lost out for honoring my father. If somebody's not obligated, the non-Jew doesn't have a commandment of kibbut aveim, and he goes that far, then we certainly have to go so far in honoring our parents. It's a beautiful Gemara in terms of the story and the scope of kibbut aveim and how careful we need to be with honoring our parents. But why Parah Adumah? Of all things, why a Parah Adumah? Yes, it's obviously something very valuable, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu could find other ways to reward him. There must be something significant about the fact that Dama ben Nesina was specifically rewarded with a Parah Adumah. So a beautiful explanation in Sefer Ishtamen. He suggested that, think about it, at that moment, when Dama ben Nesina went and had such a beautiful and perfect performance of the mitzvah kibbut avaim, it was a tremendous kitrug. It was it was an attack on the Jewish people. You are obligated in this mitzvah and you aren't doing this. Somebody who's not obligated in the mitzvah is doing it so perfectly. It was terrible for Klal Yisrael. It was terrible. He's willing to lose so much in order to remove that kitrug, in order to remove that complaint against the Jewish people. Hashem specifically gave a Parah Adumah. Why? Because we have to take the Parah Adumah, and we're willing, as the Chachamim were, to spend a tremendous amount of money in order to do it. How does that remove the kitrug, the complaint against the Jewish people? Because Dama ben Nesina was willing to lose a lot of money, but he was willing to lose a lot of money for a mitzvah that is rational, for something that we can understand, thinking he can do it on his own. When Klal Yisrael came along, everybody understands you should honor your parents. But when Klal Yisrael comes along, and for Parah Adumah, the chok, that which makes no sense, and yet I'm willing to give up all the money in the world, it doesn't matter how much money, that shows our dedication to mitzvos. It's not only to mitzvos that make sense, but even to the mitzvos that don't make sense to us, that we don't understand the time, we are still just as committed to Torah and mitzvos. And therefore, it was specifically that Dama ben Nesina was rewarded this, because that challenged and gave the opportunity to Klal Yisrael to show that our allegiance to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvos is absolute. There are times when we don't understand why we need to do certain mitzvos. It doesn't make sense. Why do you have to eat this much? Daven at a certain time. Whatever it may be, we don't understand why. But it doesn't matter. That's part of our emunah, part of our faith in Hashem, and our being submissive in front of him, to show that we do it because that is what he said, and that is a sufficient reason. And that was specifically why the story of Dama ben Nesina resulted in the Parah Adumah, and ultimately in Klal Yisrael showing Hashem that even for mitzvahs we don't understand, and certainly for mitzvahs we do understand, we are at the ready to do whatever it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands of us.